Are you disappointed in the way it ended in Ottawa? And it just didn't seem like you got a chance to say goodbye or whatever. They were like, Ottawa was just done with you as a management. Is that fair?
Not. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, it's the nature of the business, right? Your contract ends, and they can either choose to renew you or not, and it doesn't matter what the fans think. I think it comes down to a business choice at that point, and it's no different than breaking up with a girlfriend or whatever. I mean, it's never pleasant, right? Like,
Yeah.
someone doesn't want you anymore. It's not a pleasant feeling, right? And I think Meth can attest to going through that with Ottawa or any other team for that matter. Although Ottawa did want to keep you, I guess, in that conversation, but just the way the expansion draft worked out, it didn't work out for you. But I think at the end of the day, you understand it and you move on, and you realize that it's nothing personal, and it's just it's a business and professional position that they need to take.
Yep. So how would you assess your 10 years in Ottawa? There was, I think when you arrived in Ottawa out of Colorado and trade for Brian Elliott on trade deadline day, is that they didn't know what they had in you coming to Ottawa, and they needed to find out because they'd heard that perhaps you were hard to get along with, or they weren't sure about playing habits or whatnot. Did you know that coming in, that you were, I guess, needing to prove yourself that first season?
I think every time you step on the ice, you need to prove yourself. And I think from that point, it's a fresh start. You get a fresh, a fresh first impression. And, so, like I said, we had this conversation earlier about, my dry humor and rubbing people the wrong way. And it's not intentional. It's me being clueless, for one, on practice habits and not getting the temperature of kind of situation and be like, oh, guys are really pissed. Maybe I should do something different, as opposed to, so like I said, it's one of those things where, I had to learn, and I'm still learning, and there was times in Ottawa where I pissed off a lot of people, I'm sure, from player standpoint of practice habits. And, again, it's one of those things where if you're playing well and you're stealing games, no one cares. But as soon as things start going sideways and you're not the hardest working guy there and you're not the best player, guys get pissed off, and then that kind of snowballs, and then you get the rep on it. So, as far as proving myself, again, I try to do that every day. Especially in the games, you got to prove it every day, but it starts with practice habits. And that's one of the things that I've learned over the years, is how to manage your practice habits and go from there. But yeah.
You played for 6 different coaches in Ottawa: Corey Clouston, Paul McLean, Dave Cameron, Guy Boucher, Mark Crawford, DJ Smith. Who was your favorite?
All of them.
You're not playing for them anymore. You don't have to say that.
I never had an issue with anyone. I don't think. I really liked playing with Paul McLean. I think he was very fair to me and fair to my family, and he was always there when I needed him. And he was the guy that drove me to the hospital when I decided to cut my fingers off. So he holds a special place in my heart, and his family was very good to Nicole and us. So I mean, I would say he was probably my favorite, but I won't give you a least favorite. But I didn't really have any least favorite. Like I said, it was one of those things where the head coach, I was always interacting with the goalie coach, so the head coach mostly left us alone, and we did our thing. And I think the players have more interaction with the head coach or the assistants, that they may or may not like them, whereas the goalie coach, I had 2 there, so that's the way I look at it.
Which player did you want to fight the most in practice? And I only say that because I know there are certain players that like to go high on you in practice, and I can think of one in particular, and I'm going to wait and see if you say his name. But is there guys that you hated to see in practice come down the wing because they were always trying to go at your head?
Well, there's just one guy, but there's no chance I could beat him up.
Is it Zach Smith?
Was it Neeler or Smitty?
There's both of them, but yeah, most.
I was genuinely curious. I was sitting on that question too. I'm like, I wonder who he's going to say.
No, but actually, neither was pretty respectful. Smitty just had no control, and he shot so hard.
Yeah, he did.
You're
right.
Smitty he was, neither was always the guy that came super close. Smitty was just the guy that had one speed, and it was as hard as he could. And not that I got hit a whole lot up high, but it's one of those things where when those guys were shooting, you couldn't full butterfly because they had no idea where it was going. It was going somewhere near where the glass is.
Yeah.
And you know, and they get mad when you didn't play them legit. Yet they, you know, it's just they were the guys where you had to play legit, but you really couldn't because you knew you'd get hurt if they hit you.
Well, and I feel like Neeler would celebrate too after his goals, right? Like Smitty would be a little more professional about it, but Neeler would put his arms up and scream and yell, wouldn't he? Like he'd do that occasionally, at least. That would drive you crazy, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, Neeler was good. At least Neeler you could talk to. Smitty would just snap. But Neeler you could at least talk to, and like I said, Neeler and I. Well, obviously, you know, Meth. It was me, Meth, and Neeler pretty much every early team dinner or dinner on the road. So I feel like the three of us could really kind of like throw each other under the bus and still like chirp each other and still kind of be kosher. Whereas with Smitty, it was like it was an on and off switch with Smitty. You either got him when he was super pissed, or you got him and it was like, okay, are you serious? Or like, I think the best was when Smitty snapped when his clothes ended up in the your no. Yeah. It was your clothes. Was it your clothes ended up in the freezer, or was it Smitty's?
No, it was Smitty because he burned Neeler's hat with a blowtorch. Remember? It was Neeler's favorite gong show. I know we've actually told this story on here before, probably twice between Neeler coming on and Smitty, but it was so funny. But you're right.
Yeah.
And then Neeler went after Smitty, threw all his clothes in the freezer, and it shrunk and ruined his clothes. Smitty was pissed. Anyway, those are good times.
Did you do any pranks?
No, I tried to stay out of everybody's way.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't want to. You know what? You didn't want to piss off Smitty or Neeler because you knew you were going to get it tenfold.
Yes, correct.
Go
ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. Like you didn't want to mess with those two guys. Neeler would just take it to another level. Like, did you guys talk about the old fish in the old back seat?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and Patrick Weirkoch's back seat.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Neeler couldn't keep it to like simple, like, oh, I'm just gonna like whatever. I'm gonna put water in your boot or something. It was like full on. Yeah. We're taking your car, we're taking the wheels off, putting on blocks. Like it was just he took it to a whole nother level on every single time.
So imagine someone pulling a prank on you, like something very harmless in a workspace. And then that guy going out of his way to go to a grocery store, like it's not like there was a piece of salmon floating around in the room that you could just grab. Like he had to actively go out of his way, go to Farm Boy or whatever grocery store it was, grab the fish, and then put it into Patty's vehicle that was presumably locked. So he would have had to have grabbed his keys. It's just classic Chris Neil. And I think that's what made him so likable. Because if you were on the outside and you weren't the one screwing around with him, it was hilarious.
Yeah, like I said, it was almost comical to the point, like, all right, you almost waiting to see what Neeler would do, and that was, I mean, but it kept the room light. Like it was honestly like without him being there, that last, was it 1 year or 2 years that I was there without him? It was such a different room and different vibe that you just kind of get. I mean, not that it was good or bad, it was just a different vibe, for what Neeler kind of brought to the room and to the ice.
Yeah.
I have lots of questions about Ottawa. Question about Robin Lehner and Ben Bishop when you guys were going through that, and that was the shortened year, I think the lockout year, 2012-13, and you had three strong goaltenders. Was it a weird scenario watching that all play out until ultimately Ben Bishop is traded?
Honestly, we wouldn't even have gotten a Ben Bishop if I didn't cut myself.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of my own doing. But at the end of the day, I think. When you got three guys, you're giving the team a great opportunity to kind of make a move or do something with it. But I mean, going into that season, I know my agent was freaking out because I did nothing for 4 months. Although we did go to Northwest Territories, which was awesome.
Yes.
But Robin Lehner and Bishop were playing in the American League that year for the shortened season. So like, it was one of those things where you got to figure it out. So it was the year before that I don't remember. Whatever it was, Bishop was already playing in the system, so it must have been the year before we got him.
Because you traded for him from St. Louis.
The year before. The year before.
Okay.
Because he was in the minors with Leonard in Binghamton. So it was kind of one of those things where it was like, hey, like kind of had to get mentally prepared and ready. And there wasn't a whole lot of, it was a shortened season. You got thrown in there at training camps, training was short and very little preseason games. But no, it was a good, like I said, it was a good kind of combination. Robin was still young and learning. Bish was kind of starting to feel his stride. So, at the end of to be honest with you, I kind of thought that maybe I was going to be the odd man out when I kind of came back, but it didn't happen that way. And I was kind of thankful for that.